record because I typically.
Yeah. That's same thing.
Let me know when you're ready, Derek.
Coming up now. We should be on in just a second. You are live.
Good evening. I'm Jerry McIntosh, and this is Our Voices, the People's Media. Tonight, we're going to address some of the issues that we think should be addressed every day. And one is the seventh year of Brown versus the Board of Education. We're going to talk a little bit about Trump, but we're going to talk about other things as well. We would like for you to participate in our conversation or make a comment on Facebook, on our Facebook page, and we will answer your question or read your comments on the air. Calls are accepted on Sundays only. We, as hosts, have comments and opinions and facts that you may or may not agree with. We want you to fact check us, Google or research any topic that we present on this show. We need to hear all sides. So if there's something we say that you have additional insight on or just want to make a comment, we welcome your input. For a change in the world to happen, we must talk about it, hear from all sides, then make an informed decision. But first, we'll go to the host, Derek Scott, who is with the Escambia Democrat Party here. Jill Daggs, who is also with the Democrat Party in Okaloosa. And Santa Rosa, we have Christine Forrest. Mr. Vernon Watson, who is with WBQP TV, the owner of WBQP TV, and you can watch us on Roku, Fire Stick, and YouTube. Jill, you going to introduce our guest tonight?
I think it's going to be Derek, although he's phenomenal. So I will just let Derek do his thing. But I want to know that we know you're fabulous, and we are excited that you are here.
Go ahead, Derek.
Well, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me. Thank you for tuning in. We are privileged this evening to have with us a very phenomenal individual. I'd like to introduce to everybody Ms. Haley Morissette. Haley is the Democratic candidate for Florida State House District 2. Haley, the Northwest Florida Social Worker of the Year, is a seasoned community organizer with a decade-long track record of empowering grassroots movements. With a master's in social work from the University of West Florida, she has dedicated her career to advocating for social justice, healing, and positive change. Sitting on the Escambia-Pensacola Human Relations Commission, Haley is deeply involved in shaping policy and fostering inclusive community growth. Her efforts are characterized by a relentless commitment to providing hope, healing, and healthcare for all. As a strategist, she leads initiatives that resonate with diverse audiences and amplify marginalized voices. Whether she's organizing one of the ground, guiding trauma therapy sessions, or speaking at events, Haley's unwavering dedication to social progress and community well-being makes her a powerful advocate for freedom and liberation, which leads her down this very next path, which is running for Florida State House District 2. I'd like to introduce to some, welcome to others, Ms. Haley Morissette.
Thanks for having me. Very happy to be here.
Then Sarah, you want to go through
Yeah, no. Well, what we can do, Haley, just our format is, if you want, just tell us a little bit, give us a little bit of your detail, why you're running, your spiel, so to speak, and then what we'll do is we'll go in from there and ask some questions of that time.
All right, that sounds good. So yes, this very wonderful bio that was written for me. And that just brings to where I am right now. But I am a daughter of Pensacola, Northwest Florida, born and raised by two dynamic parents and an amazing village of people that have poured into my life. But with that, I have been able to be raised in conditions and have seen plenty of things that made me want to pour back into my community and to be a part of a progressive change. Part of that being how I have my degree in social work, which I decided to get after I started doing grassroots community organizing as part of like an affiliate after the murder of Michael Brown. And so with that being said, I am very much just dedicated to our community. I also am a DJ. That's a side note for a lot of people, but people may see my face and be like, I know her from somewhere, just not sure. Well, I was probably the DJ at the event that you were at. But I take advantage of that position because it gives me a chance to be in a lot of rooms that maybe I otherwise, if I off the bat engaged in being in the political arena, may not have went into. But I love being in any type of spaces that I can be and hearing from people, hearing their stories, which, like I said, it leads me to wanting to actually engage and be a part of this political process and letting democracy reign. There are so many issues that I feel like have been overlooked for at least the past 6 years. That's just at least. That somebody needed to stand up and be an example to work towards a more progressive goal in our local legislators. So I'm running for State House because of that. Any questions?
One thing, we're happy you're running because so often people go unopposed and nobody really runs against and they just take it for granted that they are going to automatically be there for forever, really. But I'm glad you're running. I'm happy about it because we definitely need somebody who's going to look at the issues that are already dealing with the issues that need to be dealt with on before you even get to the legislators body. So again, I'm happy you're running. And what is your number one goal that you want to take to Tallahassee?
So my top issue, if I can be completely honest, I don't have one top issue because I feel like intrinsically everything is linked to one another. My tagline around hope, healing, and healthcare for all, it links everything, which includes public safety, affordable housing, community investment, and people being able to have accessibility to healthcare. So going to Tallahassee, my top thing is community investment. We have for so long, especially in Northwest Florida, just been forgotten about. Northwest Florida is take a very important role to the rest of the state and honestly to the country. Look at how we make headlines so often, but nobody gets to see the good and the wonderfulness that we do all over the nation. And so we need to be able to bring that back. And I plan to be an actual representative of the people here in Northwest Florida. So investing back in any type of way that I can advocate for and be a part of that, that is what my number one top priority is.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, how would you, speaking on that, how would you advocate for our district?
Oh, how would I advocate for our district? Yeah. Well, I feel like it's in a couple of different ways, and I took some notes. I'm not going to look at my notes right now. Let's just talk, frankly. For one, I am an organizer of people. That has always been my top priority. What I can do is take actual stories and actual information from off the ground here back to Tallahassee, which is 100% what I plan to do in order to make the comment, or I'm sorry, be able to make the argument of what is needed here. As we start looking at legislation, I definitely want to be able to be put on committees that look at policy, not just policy, but also, like I said, budgets. I like to tell people a lot of times that money makes me move, but it doesn't make me move in the way that that big dirty word capitalism likes to say makes us move, right? But more so in a way that I have been around to see what happens when people don't have the money that they need in their lives to be able to have safe, secure lives and livelihoods. So one of my biggest things when I do get to Tallahassee is looking at budgeting and being able to be a voice to that. I know I can't necessarily lobby. We have so many sunshine laws, but I am able to organize people on the ground in order for us to spread our own impact in the way that we need to.
You were saying you can't lobby, but you can be lobbied, right?
I can be lobbied.
Yeah.
Once I get there, I can be lobbied. That's a thing. Yes.
Yeah, I know that there are so many of them in Tallahassee. When you get down there, they're gonna be at your. If you get to Tallahassee, they definitely gonna be at your door.
Oh, I'm already knowing. And one of the things, though, that is so funny, I think I also have a hand up. I come from a background where at one point in time, I wanted to be an attorney. And so we used to have lobbying days when I was in high school going through law academy. So I do have a step up and having a little background in that. But also I attend lobby days almost every year with the organizing work that I do. But also I'm a social worker, and social workers out of all mental health professions, if we're being honest, have some of the best lobbyists in the country. So I just come from a background of knowing what I'm up against when we talk about lobbying and knowing how it all works. So like to be educated, forever learner, love being able to have that education.
Somebody, Christina.
So I am just so excited that you're running. So thank you. And House District 2 goes all the way into Santa Rosa County, correct? All right. So I'm super excited. We're excited about getting your name out there. You know, when I look at, the Republican who's running against you and what they've advocated for, it's been advocating for guns, advocating for the gun lobby, advocating for firearms. And I look at you and I hear you talk, and you're so incredibly humble. You mentioned you're a social worker. You didn't mention you were one of the top social workers in the entire state. And just your incredible heart and advocacy towards the community. We have on our ballot coming up in November several different amendments. For me, I'm really concerned about Amendment 4, Amendment 3. Would you talk a little bit about those amendments and how you feel about them and what you feel is really important folks to know who are going to the ballot this November?
Absolutely. And one, I can definitely start off talking about Amendment 3 and how it holds its own specific impact, but especially personally for me. I have watched, and Amendment 3, for those who are watching and may not know, is marijuana decriminalization, is what I would like to put it. So being able to improve access for more people and accessibility, as we have to legalize recreational marijuana. I have watched so many people. Oh, okay, son. Thank you. I'm a mother of 2, and they're wonderful. But yes, so going back to my point, marijuana decriminalization, legalization for recreational use. I have watched so many times where small amounts of marijuana have taken someone off of progress for their lives and their livelihood, and have personally had to stand by and try to help people navigate what happens after just small amounts have impacted and kept them in the court system, in and out. Losing a driver's license over a small amount of marijuana, it impacts someone and pushes them to the rate of impoverishment in ways that people do not understand and may not have always been able to see happen in their lives. But I have watched it multiple times happen. I'm a huge advocate of being able to have this policy completely pushed. And mostly for that reason of just being able to see how it's upended people's lives. I would also advocate that, you know, people that are locked up right now or are facing any type of repercussions, that they are able to be recouped for that time or in some sort of way if we're releasing advocating for them, because this is also a part of criminal justice work, social justice work. On top of that, we can get into reproductive rights all day long. At the end of the day, especially as I'd say as a Black mother, I know what it means and how hard it is, especially for maternal health, to carry more than once. With my first child, it was actually very devastating for me. Sucked it up and did it a second time, and it was the best decision I ever made. But if I had wanted to make the choice to not, you know, go through with the pregnancy or just make the choice of whatever hard decisions I had to make with my body, I would have been absolutely devastated for the repercussions and things that our government is currently imposing on us. Around our reproductive health. And it expands. I think a lot of times we get stuck on it's just women's rights, but this is an expansive issue when we talk about reproductive health. And so we want to be very mindful for that and advocate for it. So I do stand on a yes, very much so.
You know, I think a lot of men are for Amendment 4 too, because they can, you know, end up maybe in trouble or with a child that they are not necessarily, you know, want either, you know, or if something is happening with that child when you're doing birth, it could hurt both the mother and father as far as, you know, what it costs to take care of the child and all of that. And, you know, it's just a lot of things that need to be done and should be taken care of as far as the legislation is concerned in Tallahassee. But a whole lot of times you got people out here that's really don't care nothing about the child after it's born, but they are gung-ho about it when you know, before it's born. But once it get here, they are willing to put it in jail, put the child in jail, or kill the child, or do whatever it takes to, or you know, just really crazy stuff when you think about it. But they don't want to help the mother after the mother have the child. You know, they want to cut the little food stamps or well, EBT, whatever they're doing now. They want to cut that, and they don't want to insure the children. And you know, when Joe Biden had the children program, and so, you know, they were getting so much per month. My mind has slipped. But anyway, the tax credit, child tax credit, the same people that's so concerned about family value are the same ones that are cutting everything that a child need in the family, and the mother and father need both, because a lot of times it's both in house, but they are sometimes you know, in between jobs or something that happened and you can't get it, or the father then went to jail or the mother then went to jail, but they still don't want to help take care of the child. So I hope that when you get there, there's some of the things I know you will be bringing it up. You know.
Oh, of course.
Hey, Jerry.
Bodily autonomy.
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
They better be careful what they ask for, really, when they talk about the abortions and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's what got those folks in a tizzy right now, because obviously, those people are going to grow up and they're going to be voting age, and they're going to grow up and they're going to populate the population. That's what they're trying to keep from right now, kind of keep brown and black people from out of power and from taking control over this country. So I hope they be careful what they ask for about what they're doing here. So that's just my little.
Well, the way I see it, Vern, if it was just black women and brown women having abortion, I told you before you could go to McDonald's and get one,
Mm-hmm.
but for the last year, I believe it was the first time that black and brown and babies are outnumbered in birth. They outnumbered everybody
White
else.
women, yeah.
So,
Well, that's what I'm saying now. I know what the strategy is that we're doing just opposite of what Japan did many years ago when they were trying to restrict only 2 children per family. Well, these folks are trying to now to try to help multiply the population so they can keep white people in power. That's the bottom line to it. So we'll see what happens, but what they don't realize, but black and brown people reproduce too, and more so at greater numbers. So again, I hope they get what they ask for.
I would like to challenge that just a little bit too, Mr. Vernon.
Okay.
That definitely white people in power, but very specifically rich white people. That it is a state of having people who are more so that have more economic, and what they are asking of us is to repopulate a workforce.
Right.
Which is why we see the attack on education, why we see the attack on our history and so many other things, is because they're trying to create, and I know we say the big, great they, right? But that there is a very dynamic separation, which is even something that I've realized as going into this. This is my first time running for a seat. And I understand now as I'm trying to do fundraising and try to keep up to make sure that I have all the things that I need in place, that they say only rich white people actually run for seats, which we're going to add that, obviously, right? But now I see where the barriers are and why there's so many different barriers in place. So it is a very specific demographic that is wanting to take control of their power and keep their power. And as long as we are not falling into that of what it means to like build the workforce and raise children who are just gonna go with the flow of things, or even ourselves just become people that don't go with the flow of things, then it's a problem.
Absolutely.
Jill?
Hey, I was coming. I was just letting everybody else go. It's always good to see you. Here's my question, and I'm going to I think you're ready for this one. We talked when you first were just about ready to put your paperwork in and run. And I said to you, so you're running because you're going to champion your age group so that they could do what? So I thought maybe it's better than ask you a question. Why don't you share your vision as to why you're really doing this?
Yes. Thank you for asking that, actually. So this has very deep-seated feelings around what I've been able to witness the last 10 years, right? We fought and we got some progress, and then we got a barrage of legislation that just put everyone in a really hopeless position, especially people that are young and in my age group who don't believe in voting anymore. They don't believe in the parties. They believe just showing up and dealing with politics is a waste of time. When I've seen the opposite, because I'm one of those big picture people, right? Who sees that whatever this legislation is that passes this year, by next year, it's going to be in my pockets, or it's going to affect my kids in so many different ways. And so what I really, really wanted was to actually be able to be an example, be a movement person, movement leader in this moment in the ways that we really need it. And I don't say, of course, I try not to say leader in a way like I'm a messiah, not in any way at all. I really want to empower those that are next generation that are here right here with me right now to step step up and run also. We can all do it, but we also have to have each other. We need to get out the vote. We need to be able to start engaging in the big picture. We have to take care of the next generation and those that are coming behind us. The generation ahead of us and those that are coming up behind us. It's really time to step up to the plate. And hopelessness, it has no place here. As far as I'm concerned, it's Sunday. I grew up in the church. Hopelessness has no place here. It's all about healing, healthcare, and hope for everybody. And so that's why part of the work that I'm doing especially is you'll see me at places that other politicians may not be at. I'm going to be outside with everyone. I want to talk to everyone. I want to be in the deepest crevices of all of our neighborhoods as much as possible, talking to people and getting them motivated. We're coming outside, as us young people say. We are outside this summer, especially to make sure we're getting out the vote, but also that we are raising up the next set of leaders that are going to take the reins and be everything that we see that we need, because we can only be our own saviors at the end of the day.
That's what President Obama said. We are the people we've been looking for all our lives.
That's right.
I'm glad you are one of those people that we've been looking for. Derek, it's back to you. Think you're on mute, Derek.
I am. I just was just saying that I think I'm on mute. You know, I've said this oftentimes and probably get in trouble saying, but I'm very much excited about this candidacy, your candidacy, so to speak, especially with our out of our list of candidates in Escambia County. I think we have a dynamic group, but you add an element of untapped voters, voice voters that we don't typically have or see. So I'm very excited about it. But I want to touch base on a couple of things, particularly to you as it relates. I know I've heard you talk about your upbringing and you reference Wedgwood at times. In there, we know that community specifically has been has been blighted by a lot of environmental racism, right? And although it's not in your district, you know, I will say one of the House rep that is over that district hasn't really done anything to help the cause. And there are other Superfund sites that fall within State House District 2's limits. What do you see as your role as Florida State House rep, and what can you do to kind of help the victims who are harmed by environmental racism, particularly who are still living in those, you know, what I would deem maybe less than safe conditions?
Yeah, there's a level of advocacy that legislators have an absolute, not just a right, but it is our duty to do. My duty is to make sure that they clean it up the correct way. We've seen in so many ways that they have either just left it, and I will not sit here. I'm directly impacted. I'm part of those families. My family was the first homeowners in Wedgwood. That little known fact, but we own the first home in Wedgwood. And there are, like you said, many other Superfund sites that actually are in District 2, and they all seem to live right around heavily Black and brown communities. So one, it is the advocacy and the work to either look at environmental policy, advocate for that policy and legislation for them to clean it up, and to get the funds out for people to have the healing that they need at the time. And this is something that is obviously very near and dear to my heart, because I've just had to watch it for so many years of my whole life, actually watching how environmental racism, flooding, and different projects, and we know exactly what we need to do to clean it up, but nobody's doing anything. Like, we have the duty to speak up and say something about it And if it takes introducing policy to actually get those companies who are the ones that aren't doing right to be the ones to get themselves in line, then I am the one who's going to take it to them to make sure that happens. Because it's not just Northwest Florida in that especially. We're talking about the whole state has these types of issues.
Also, Haley, we're looking at continuous runaway, unaffordable housing in all over the state of Florida and throughout the country, where poor people, people with, I would say, people with that has less than others, now unable to almost live in any housing. If they are, they crammed into some like studio apartments because of the cost. And what do you see as and how do you think you could help with the housing shortage and also the runaway costs?
So what we do know is that for some odd reason, this world decided, I'm sorry, I have a puppy that's trying to sit in my lap right now. We have rising costs, like you said, around housing. And for some odd reason, this world decided till I became an adult for those costs to go up. I cannot believe this. Just kidding. But in this very serious issue, I, in my position, not before ever getting elected, advocacy does work. People power does work. And being able to bond together and demand that we have actual affordable housing, not housing that feeds into what they say we have to be able to make in order to live comfortably in this nation, but absolutely looking at what it says, what is the median cost, what is the average salary of people who deserve to have safe and secure housing, people who have worked all their lives and worked out it. But being able to go and support any type of policy shifts that can create that and bring the dollars back home to create that real affordable housing rather than, I don't want to speak out of then again, I'm Haley. I'm Hale. My name is Hale. But then again, at the end of the day, not feeding into the delusion that there are people who make $150,000 every year that are going to be able to afford, a $2,500 studio apartment in Escambia County or the city of Pensacola. We have to cut that out and not be delusional about that. So very much of being able, the question was, what can I do? Very much bringing back home the bacon and making sure that I'm supporting whoever it is locally, or our local government wants the power to be able to put up housing that people can actually afford, people that really work hard for it.
One last thing from me for right now is not only with housing, the cost of housing, but the cost of insurance. We know that the state of Florida is another, that's another runaway entity of that's killing people. I know from my own experience, my insurance doubled on my house, and we need someone there to bring this to the attention to what is taking place with some of the legislators and make sure that it gets to the governor's desk so that we can get more insurance companies back into the state of Florida, or we need to just get rid of all the insurance companies altogether and have a insurance company run by the state wholly. So we can, that's just my opinion.
Good to know. I'm taking notes. I will say that I'm a homeowner. I bought my home younger. And so after the death of my mother, one of the top issues for me was making sure that my children always had their own home, because we did move around to different places here and there for a little while. And so I was able to get a home around the corner from my grandparents' house. Amazing. They're walking distance. And then taxes started going up and doubling. And then homeowners insurance went up. And I, as someone that is just trying to keep up with the salary to take care of 2 children, because me and my 2, and all of our dogs and boyfriend. But just trying to keep up with all of that, yes, homeowners insurance is exorbitant. The amount of things I could do to care for the upkeep of my home as a young homeowner, especially, and it's abysmal to me. And so, yes, as someone that is heavily impacted myself also, and also being able to take from the streets and from anybody who will tell me their story about what it is that they're dealing with, I stand on business that I absolutely would love to advocate and push this to the governor's desk or figure out what the next step is for us to be able to have affordable homeowners insurance. Because it is hurricane season. What are we to do? We already have to buy flood insurance on top of that wind insurance. And don't get me started.
As a matter of fact, I was going to bring that up, that, we are less likely to have what we need to protect ourselves in many instances when during this hurricane season. Because I was reading just the other day that the African American community and poor people suffer the most and less likely to get their resources that they need in a timely manner. So most of the time is sometime they out almost a year. And then they want you to have everything in 72 hours. But if your house blow away, no matter how much water you got in your house, no matter how much what else you have in your house, that 72 is not going to work for you. So it ought to be something always in place, through FEMA and through the state to make sure that the people of Florida is taken care of. And still, I think in Mustang Beach, they still repairing houses down there from a couple years ago. So, when you think about it, but if you are poor, it might be 3 or 4 years if you was in an area like that got torn up like that. I'll let someone else ask the question. Yeah. Vern, you got something you want to ask Haley?
Well, Haley, congratulations. I'm so glad you running for office and you're an activist, following in your footsteps of your mother. She was always advocating for everything, and but I'm proud to know that. All these amendments that's on the ballot this year, okay, and I'm hoping that we can educate people on supporting a lot of those amendments on the ballot. And I think you touched on a couple of them that I think is crucial for us to have some input into it. So, and I know there's probably several others on that ballot, Amendment 4 and stuff like that. Do you have any specific comment that you want to make towards your support of those ballots? How would you want us to deal with that as a candidate?
Yeah, my support is, I guess I can't tell y'all what I'm going to do in the ballot box, but my support necessarily is recreational marijuana legalization. Absolutely. Please, let's do it. I actually sat down the other day to really reflect on what accessibility would mean outside of decriminalization, because that has actually been a hard fight that I've been fighting just here in Escambia County for a few years myself, even doing as much as going to the city of police and asking them off the record, how can we deal with this so that we're not filling up our jails with people that have just small amounts of marijuana on them after a good night in downtown Pensacola? It's ludicrous, ridiculous. But so much so, I think about what it also takes, the fact that we don't have accessibility to healthcare so much for people, and that being able to access a plant that could cause or that could impact and have be so helpful for people that are suffering from a lot of ailments, if we're being completely honest, that it makes sense to me that it would be able to be easily accessible for them. I think that that's an expansion on healthcare, actually, if we were to legalize small amounts of marijuana, for sure.
Do you think that I'm frozen on my end, but hopefully okay. But do you think that would help get the younger people out to vote? Okay. If you can hear me, Jerry, if y'all can hear me, we're having some technical issues. I'm gonna drop out. I'm gonna drop out for a minute and see if I can cure these technical issues. Okay. I'm not getting audio on your end for the television purpose of it. Let me drop out. I'll be back in. Let me see can I figure out what happened here. Okay.